There is a species of ant that doesn't store food in jars. It stores food inside living workers, filling them until they can't move, then hanging them from the ceiling like living barrels. When the colony is starving, it taps them one drop at a time to feed the rest of the ants. Some of these living honeypots have been up there for 2 years. Welcome to the world of the honeypot ants. Somewhere under the Arizona desert, an ant named Ember is hanging from a ceiling. She has been hanging there for 2 years. She cannot walk. She cannot fight. She cannot leave. Her body is swollen 10 times its normal size with golden fluid. And every few hours another ant climbs up, taps her mouth, and drinks. She was not born this way. She was changed, and she didn't get a choice. 6 feet beneath a cracked hillside in the Sonoran desert, there is a chamber. The walls are dry. The air is still. Above, the surface is 112 degrees, and the soil is bleached white from months without rain. Down here, it is dark. Down here, 300 living ants are hanging from the ceiling side by side in rows. Motionless. Their heads are normal. Their legs are normal. But their abdomens, the rear section of each ant's body, have been inflated into translucent amber spheres, each one the size of a large grape. In the right light, you can see straight through the skin to the fluid moving inside. Gold, thick, glowing faintly. Every one of those ants is alive. Every one of them has been up there since spring. Every one of them is about to be tapped, drained, and left hanging until the colony needs her again. This is not a nightmare. This is not a horror movie. This is a real species of ant living right now under the American Southwest, running one of the most brutal and sophisticated survival systems ever built by a living thing. And we are going to follow one of those ants from the day she was chosen to the day they stopped needing her. Her name is Ember. Pay attention. Her story is insane. Let's be clear about where Ember lives. The Sonoran Desert is one of the most violent environments on the planet. Every summer, the surface temperature climbs past 115 degrees Fahrenheit. The monsoon rains are supposed to come in July. Sometimes they don't. When they don't, the flowering plants die. The insects disappear. The entire food supply for everything shuts off. Most desert animals respond by eating themselves. They burn through their own stored fat. Bears do it, squirrels do it, humans do it. Ants cannot. An ant's body is too small to store enough fat to matter. A colony of 100,000 ants needs to eat every single day. When the rains fail, when the nectar disappears, when foraging becomes impossible, a normal ant colony has one option. It dies. All of it. The queen, the workers, the eggs, the larvae. Wiped out in a matter of weeks by a season that doesn't end. Except for the honeypot ant. The honeypot ant has been hit by drought after drought after drought for 35 million years, and it is still here. While every other desert species was evolving to run away from starvation, the honeypot ant evolved a solution so disturbing that scientists spent 100 years arguing about how it even worked. The honeypot ant figured out how to turn members of its own colony into batteries. Ember's first day. Ember is born in April. Her colony is Myrmecocystus mimicus, a medium-sized colony of roughly 20,000 workers, nested 6 feet under a rocky slope outside Tucson. She emerges from her pupa pale and soft, her exoskeleton still flexible. For a few hours, she is half-formed, an easy target for anything that wants to eat her. Then her body hardens. Her colony chemistry clicks into place. She is ready to work. For most ants born this day, the next few weeks are predictable. Nurse duty, tunnel cleaning, brood care. Eventually forager training, out into the desert to hunt nectar and aphid honeydew and the corpses of other insects. That is not what happens to Ember. Something about her is different. It could be her size. It could be a chemical marker on her skin. Scientists have been trying to figure out the trigger for decades, and they still don't fully know. But older workers recognize something in her. Some signal the colony chemistry is broadcasting, and they make a decision about her that she will not understand until it is already too late. They flag her for conversion. The filling. Within 48 hours of emerging, foragers begin to approach Ember. They approach her the way ants approach each other for normal food exchange. One worker opens her mandibles, regurgitates a drop of amber nectar from her crop, and offers it to Ember mouth to mouth. Ember, following the pheromones, accepts it. This is normal. Ants feed each other all day. Ember has no reason to suspect anything is wrong. Then another forager comes, another drop, and another, and another. Within 6 hours, Ember has received more food than she could possibly need. Her abdomen, her gaster, begins to swell. The flexible cuticle of a newly emerged worker stretches easily. The foragers do not stop coming. By the end of the first day, Ember's gaster is twice its normal size. The membrane between her plates is straining. She tries to move, and it is harder than it was this morning. She doesn't know why. The foragers keep coming. By the end of the first week, Ember's abdomen is the size of a pea. She can no longer run. She cannot fold into tight tunnels. She can barely lift herself off the floor. By the end of the first month, Ember's gaster is the size of a grape. She is immobile. She is helpless. Her legs are too small for her body now. She looks like a head and a thorax dragging behind it a glowing amber balloon. A worker approaches her for the first time with a different purpose, not to feed her, to move her. The worker gently grips Ember's mandibles and drags her through the tunnel. Ember cannot resist. She doesn't know how. She has never fought another ant in her life. They drag her to the storage chamber. They maneuver her to a specific spot on the ceiling. They help her grip the rock with her tarsal claws. They leave. Ember is hanging from the ceiling. She has been alive for 32 days. She will hang here for the rest of her life. What has been done to her? The cuticle of an ant, the hard shell that makes up her exoskeleton, stretches easily when she is young, but only once. Once Ember's body has been inflated to this size, the cuticle does not contract. It stays stretched. Her abdomen will never return to its normal shape. Her legs will never be the right size for her body again. If a human took her off the ceiling right now and set her on the ground outside, she would be unable to walk. She would be unable to hide. She would be eaten by the first spider that found her within an hour. The colony has turned Ember into a piece of infrastructure. Not a soldier, not a forager, not a nurse, a container. She hangs from the ceiling. She waits. She doesn't even know what she's waiting for yet. If you think it can't get more intense than this, stay with me. You haven't heard the worst of it yet. The tap. It is late August. The monsoons have failed. The surface is cracked earth and dead grass. No flowers, no insects, nothing to hunt. The colony is starving. A worker enters the storage chamber and approaches Ember on the ceiling. Ember has been hanging here for 4 months now. She has not moved. She has not eaten. Her own body is the stored food. The worker climbs the wall, reaches Ember, and taps Ember's mouthparts with her antennae. Ember responds. She regurgitates a single controlled drop of golden fluid, the food that was force-fed into her in spring, now held inside her body at perfect temperature, unfermented, untouched by the dry desert air. The worker takes the drop, climbs back down, leaves. Another worker arrives, another tap, another drop, and another, and another. All day, every day, for weeks. Ember's abdomen begins to shrink, slowly. The fluid that was packed into her in spring is draining out of her body, drop by drop. Feeding workers who carry it back through the tunnels to feed larvae, feed the queen, feed other workers who are too weak to forage. This is the honeypot ant's solution to drought. The colony doesn't store food in pots. It stores food inside living workers. Why it actually works. Now look at what this system solves, because this is what makes it diabolical. A clay pot of honey, buried underground, would lose its moisture through the walls of the pot. The desert air would pull it out through any crack. Within 3 months, there would be nothing left but dried residue. Ember does not leak. Her cuticle seals the fluid inside her body perfectly. Her biology maintains the correct temperature. Enzymes in her crop prevent fermentation. The nectar she is holding right now is as fresh as the day it was forced into her. A clay pot cannot hear the colony calling for it. Someone has to remember where it is, dig to it, open it, and carry food back. During a drought, when every ant is conserving every calorie of movement, that chain of actions is dangerous and expensive. Ember can hear the colony. She responds immediately to the tap. The food comes out in exactly the amount needed, in exactly the moment it is needed, with no extraction required. A clay pot can be raided. A termite could dig through it. A competitor colony could steal it. A burrowing animal could crack it open. Nothing can steal from Ember without killing her first, and as long as she is hanging in the storage chamber surrounded by nestmates, she is as safe as anything in the colony. The honeypot ant didn't build a better jar. She killed the jar problem entirely by becoming the jar. The part that will stay with you. Imagine for a second that someone chose your body to be a battery, not your job. Your body. Someone walked up to you. They fed you, and they kept feeding you. They fed you so much that your stomach stretched until you couldn't move. They carried you into a basement. They hung you from a hook. And for the rest of your life, strangers would come down the stairs, tap you on the mouth and drink. You couldn't walk. You couldn't run. You couldn't play. You couldn't fight back. You couldn't die unless they stopped feeding you. And nobody ever asked if you wanted this. That is what happens to Ember. Not as a metaphor, not as a parable. Literally, exactly, right now, under the desert. 2 years have passed. Ember is still hanging from the ceiling. She has been drained and refilled 7 times. Each spring, when the rains come and the nectar flows, the foragers return to feed her, packing her body with gold again, ready for the next drought. Each summer, when the rains fail, the workers come to tap her, and she gives up what she has. She has never seen the surface of the desert. She never will. She has never hunted. She has never fought. She has never eaten for her own sake. Every calorie that has passed through her body has been for someone else. She does not know that her sisters are foraging right now, above her head, running across the sand in the cool of early morning. She does not know that her colony is thriving. She does not know that she is the reason. She hangs in the dark. A worker climbs the wall, taps her mouth. Ember gives up another drop. In the 7,000th regurgitation of her life, she releases a single bead of fluid, no larger than a grain of sand, and the worker carries it off. She's been doing this every day for 2 years. She will keep doing this until the day her cuticle finally cracks, her abdomen splits, and she dies hanging from the ceiling, at which point the workers will detach her body, drag it out of the nest, drop it on the refuse pile outside, and start filling the young ant who is already waiting in the next chamber, being fed drop by drop. The system does not stop. The system does not care. The system works. If this kind of story grabs you, one creature inside a system that is bigger than any of them, Colony in Danger is the series for you. It follows a fire ant scout inside a colony that is starting to come apart, and the choice she makes when she realizes the rules might not be enough to save them. The link is in the description. Let's get back to Ember. Right now, as you are watching this, she is hanging in a chamber under the Arizona desert. She has been up there for 2 years. She will never hunt. She will never forage. She will never feel sunlight. She will never run across the open sand in the cool of early morning the way her sisters do every day. She will never fight. She will never flee. She will never do anything that an ant is supposed to do. The only reason Ember exists, the only reason she was ever born, is to hold food inside her body for other ants to drink. That is her entire life. Every drop of nectar that ever passed through her body belonged to someone else. Every molecule of energy her body ever stored was taken out of her through her mouth by a sister she did not recognize, who walked away without looking back, and fed it to a queen Ember has never seen. Ember did not volunteer for this. She didn't know what was happening when it started. By the time her body was stretched enough that she understood she couldn't run anymore, it was already too late. The cuticle doesn't go back. The legs don't get bigger. The ceiling doesn't let go. She was born into a colony that needed a battery, and her body was the one that got chosen. And here is the part that should sit with you. Ember is not an exception. She is not a tragic outlier. She is not a mistake the colony made. There are hundreds like her in her colony right now, thousands like her across the desert, millions like her across the planet, right now, in this exact moment, in every honeypot ant colony that has ever existed. Every single one of them was chosen. Every single one of them was filled against her will. Every single one of them hangs in a dark chamber, drained a drop at a time, until her body finally cracks open and the workers drag her corpse out to the refuse pile to make room for the next one. The colony wins. The colony survives droughts that would kill anything else. The colony has been doing this for 35 million years and will probably still be doing it 35 million years from now. But the colony only wins because Ember loses, and nobody asked her. That is what a sacrifice actually looks like when it isn't a choice. That is what it costs to keep a society alive when the society has decided that some of its members exist to be used up. Ember is still up there. She will be up there tomorrow. She will be up there until she dies. We just watched the colony choose one of its own to hang from a ceiling for 2 years. Next time, we watch the colony choose which of its workers to send to their deaths, on purpose, every day, and it doesn't send the young ones. It sends the oldest, the ants who have earned the most, contributed the most, and lived the longest. There's a reason for that. Once you hear it, you'll never think about any society, human or otherwise, the same way again. That's next time.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe to Compass and Codex if you want to hear more, because there is so much more to tell. And remember, never stop exploring the unknown.